Welcome to Slasher Sunday. Now, the reason that I've never done this movie for Slasher Sunday is because I don't really think it's a slasher movie. It's a home invasion movie, right? But so many people have requested this for a Slasher Sunday review. So often I see it that I give the people what they want, right? This one most recently was requested by Amanda Saylor, so I'm going to give her the shout out right now. But there has been a bunch of you that have asked for this, so here we go, The Strangers. Now, first thing I want to say about this movie is that the trailer for this movie when it came out was incredible. I thought that this was like the second coming. I seriously thought the trailer was divine. I watched that and I was like, holy shit, man. This is going to be like the next Halloween. This is going to be amazing. It just blew me away. So, I went into the theater with unbelievable expectations, which is not a good thing to do. And I ended up being extremely underwhelmed. The film was met with some serious praise and has always remained very loved by the horror community and just people in general, even non-horror fans. And I've tried to watch it maybe one time since or so, and maybe twice, and I just could never get into it. And so after Amanda brought it up, and I was like, okay, it's time I do this. I know a lot of you love it. I know it'll get a lot of views and whatnot, which is good. I mean, I make these videos for you guys to watch, so why not make ones that you guys are going to, more of you are actually going to watch. But on this rewatch, I still am not a big fan of it. And here's the reasons. I guess this is what it comes down to. And here's where I really lose my audience, which I do all the time, so this is nothing new. I like the second one better. And here's why I like the second one better. Here's why this is why I can't really get into this one. Because this is a very well made movie. I'm not going to sit there and tell people that they're wrong, that they're stupid, that this is terrible. Nothing like that. Nor would I ever say that to anybody who likes a movie. I don't really give a shit about the characters. There's no build-up of who these characters are. What do we really know about these characters during the movie? Now, there are a lot of horror fans out there that are like, I don't give a shit about, characters. I just want to see people killed, this and that. Okay, if that's your thing, that's fine. But this ain't the movie to give it to you. Okay, this ain't that movie because this ain't no slasher movie. There's only one death from the characters themselves, and then we can only surmise that at least Scott Speedman's character James died, and Kristen, to our knowledge, is at least alive still at the end of the first movie. She probably dies, but there's only 3 deaths in the whole film. So I'm going to need to care about these characters. If you're going to build tension with these characters the whole movie, I gotta like them. And this movie's very somber. It's very slow. And it's like, it's not a bad movie. I'm not even trying to get to that. It's just why it doesn't work for me. So we're introduced to these characters. They're really sad. You can tell something shitty just happened. Then we find out what happens. And then they're sitting there, and then he's like, well, I'm going to go out. And then he goes out, and then the killers start attacking. And it's like, I don't know anything about you people. Like, I know that you had a failed marriage proposal, and then that's it. I'm supposed to care about you for the rest of the film because you're a human being, and I'm a human being, so I'm supposed to have empathy for that. Which is, in reality, sure. Sure, anybody dies, it's terrible, and of course, I empathize or I sympathize. But in a fictional film, when I'm sitting there and I'm watching the characters, I want to care about them more so than just that they're human beings. And I just don't. The acting is really good. Cinematography, the direction, all of it is solid. It's just very, I don't care about anything that's going on with these guys. And that just hurts the enjoyability of the film for me dramatically. Now in the second movie, we build up the daughter, the son, the husband, and the wife for like 20, 30 minutes before. I actually get to know these people. So when things are happening, even if you say, oh, they're much inferior things, okay, that's fine. But at least I give a shit about the characters on the screen. I just don't. Even though these are people I'm even familiar with. Even though one of them is freaking Arwen Undamniel. Sorry, big Rings fanatic here. But I don't care. Let's say. So I think I've said this enough. But all right, so we got Liv Tyler and we've got Scott Speedman, and Scott Speedman is someone who I'm mostly only familiar with because of the Underworld franchise where he plays Michael Corbin, and then Liv Tyler we know from tons and tons and tons of stuff. We get a Texas Chainsaw Massacre type opening here with the narration and the text up on the screen. And then, of course, they always have to add those statistics up on the screen to make it hit a little more close to home. And then, of course, they put, like, based on a true story, which is total bogus nonsense. I mean, what is even the requirement to say based on a true story? I mean, seriously. I don't think you have to have any. I legitimately think you can say that. I mean, what are they going to do? Sue you? I mean, if you use someone's specific name and was like, this is what happened to them, and they were like, that's not what happened to me, then I guess you'd have an issue. But if you just make up people and you're like, this really happened, I mean, they do it in every found footage movie. So it doesn't really have to pertain to literally anything. It can be so loosely based on that it's like, oh, well, it happened in this location. Like, that's the same. It's like, that's it. That's all you got. So I've looked into the real case of this, and I don't honestly remember how close to it is or isn't. But this, of course, is one of those things, like an open water scenario where I think both of the people died. So, and even in the opening narration, it outright says, like, the events of that day are still unknown. And it's like, but we're about to watch the events of that day, so you're basing this on nothing, which is fine. It's it's for entertainment. Although, of course, when it's based on a true story about someone's death and murder, it ceases to be as entertaining. It doesn't feel like entertainment anymore to me. It's like, oh, well, that's not as fun knowing this actually happened, because that's terrible. All right. And then, so I like that the opening is this, the thing at the end, and then they flash forward. I'm not a big fan of that almost ever. I hate when a movie or a TV show or whatever starts at the end, and then it's like 10 hours earlier or whatever. I've never been a fan of that. But I do like it here because of the way that they do it. And the way that they do it is she's calling, and they don't show her, and they don't show him, and they just see that there's blood and this and that, and that there's kids in the house. And that call could have came from halfway into the movie. That call could have came from the end. That call could have came 2 seconds after she got her throat slit. Like, this call really doesn't tell us anything. So it's kind of a cheat, but also a good setup. If you're gonna do that ending beginning, then this is a much more adequate way to do it for my own taste. Like, I don't like seeing what's transpired so that I'm just waiting for all of these events to occur. Now, there are little bits of stuff like a bloody knife or something, but these are things you can surmise just from the kind of movie that it is, that something like that will happen. But so I like that kind of twist around, because we don't know absolutely anything that's happened from that opening, even though it takes place at the end of the movie. So I think that was cool. A failed marriage proposal, especially like a couple that is very much involved with one another, like they live together, or at least we assume so. I know this is a vacation home, so I don't know if they actually live together. I can only assume that they do. And he's got it all set up when they come back. He's got champagne. I think they're at a wedding, right? Love is in the air. He thinks this is his moment. He seizes it. He bought the ring. He, who knows what lengths he went through to set up that house while she was gone. And then to have to come back, and he even says, like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. It's like, this is the only character moments we get. And in that, I do relate in a way. I mean, I have never proposed to someone to have them turn me down, but I think we can all understand rejection to some extent. And if we can't, then wow, good for you. You've never been rejected in anything in your whole life. Wow, that's impressive. You actually probably need to be, so you can learn humility. But yeah, so just to have this guy going through that, it's rough. And like, I feel for the guy in that moment. But even when you watch a slasher movie, even when you watch The Dumbest Thing, at least the characters are bringing me some form of entertainment. If I'm not going to get to know them on a personal level, if I'm not going to like them, they're not going to sell me on them as a human being. They can sell me on them as a character. They can sell me on them as a comedic relief. They can sell me on them as the slutty chick who, shows off her hot bod or something. Not that that makes her more valuable or more interesting to me than that, but at least passes the time more than people just sitting there being like, I'm really sorry. And the acting is great from them. And they give everything that's asked of them, and I think it's all solid. It just doesn't make me care. And I'm not caring when the tension scenes, I've went over this enough, but I feel like I'm defending myself because I know how many people are going to be like, you're out of your mind, this movie's amazing. Now, I'm not much one for metaphors and symbolisms and all of that. I don't talk about it all that much on my channel, nor am I going to even imply that this is what they meant. But I thought it was interesting that she denies his marriage proposal here. And when they go to have sex, right before he puts his dick in her, like right before he slips it in, the knock on the door happens, like instant. I'm suck at snapping. Have you ever noticed that in my videos? I always have to like do a few of them to get one right. God, I'm terrible. I've never been good. As a kid, I was always terrible at it. And I don't even like the feeling of it because I always think of it like bone on bone in my head, and I go, it just grosses me out. So I try never to do it, but during my videos, I always ask for it. I can't even do it with this hand at all. Fucking pathetic. Can't even get a snap out of there. Anyway. But yeah, just as he was about to put it in, they knock at the door. Like, oh, that's it. You gave in into your wicked ways, like in all the traditional horror movies where once you give it up, you die. And I just thought that was interesting, and because of horror tropes and because of Randy's explanation of like, as soon as you give it up. But I guess maybe she's just, I don't know, like, we're out of wedlock and here we go. You can see that. And then at the end of the movie, these kids are passing around pamphlets of Christianity or some religion, and they're like, are you a sinner? So, and then these kids come to their house, and it's like, oh, you were living out of wedlock, this is what happens, kind of thing. I'm not saying that's what was even going on here at all, but and then she even slips her ring on, and she can't get it off. It's like, no, you if you're gonna live this life, you need to be married. This is like a lesson to you. So as I said, that's stretching. I feel like I'm making that like Room 237 documentary right now, which I've never even seen, but I've heard all about, like how fucking insane they get with all of these theories and whatnot. All right. This Tamara home line, I love it. I think it's creepy. I love that they come back multiple times and keep doing it. I like that they bring it on over to the sequel as well. It's just a great line from the movie. Great setup. And then I love that the guy is in the house behind her. He sits behind her. He just stands there, very Michael Myers-esque. That was in the trailer. That's part of why I was like, oh shit, this could be a Halloween. And then she takes down the smoke detector, and she finds, now did they close the chute to the fireplace, or did freaking James forget to open it? He tried to smoke her there. He was trying to kill her. And he's hoping that she was going to pass out from all the wine he gave her, and then she was going to die of carbon monoxide poisoning. Although he probably would have disconnected all the smoke alarms if he was going to do that. So probably not. In fact, he would have just left her there. He would have came back and she would have said that, and he'd been like, perfect, and he would have ran out. Like, you can have her. She ain't mine now. But he does say, "You're my girl," which I thought was very possessive and kind of odd. I guess that's his, like, uh, freaking, oh, what's the word I'm thinking of? Oh, shit. No, not condolence. Why can't I think of this? Oh, shit, whatever. I'll think of it in here, and I'll randomly say it out, and you'll have to be like, "What the fuck is this guy talking about?" And then these guys just get off on antagonizing because they could kill them at any point in the movie. I mean, he even comes in the house, and then he goes back outside just to fuck with her. And throughout the movie, they are just there purely to antagonize. And I do feel like at the end of this movie, they make it clear that this is the first time they've ever killed anybody, because Babyface, I think is what her name is, she says next time it'll be easier. I mean, if you've ever watched any movie with a killer who talks about killing, or a person who's killed people, how many times have you watched a movie where the person's like, the first time's the hardest, and then from there it just gets easier and easier, blah blah blah. I mean, how many times have you seen this conversation happen in the film? So, consolation prize. Ah, told you it would come to me. It's this consolation prize. All right. Anyway, and then, yeah. I like that. There's a lot of subtlety in the movie, and I do appreciate it. I do like some of the tension, but I just find myself bored because I don't care. I kept looking over at my phone and then being like, "No, pay attention." And I'd like look down at my phone and be like, "No, pay attention." Like, fuck, man, I just can't get into this film. I find it so boring. And I can't believe that, because it feels like the kind of film I'd be into. It's crazy to me that I think Halloween is just incredible and never boring, not for a second. But that's it. I get to know Laurie. I get to know Annie. I get to know Linda. I get to know Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace and Dr. Samuel Loomis and freaking, Sheriff Brackett and all these people. Like, I feel like I know them. Okay, not so much Brackett, but I do get some good character moments with him and Laurie and him and Loomis, and so I do get to know him. There's no talking in this movie almost at all. All right, anyway, but yeah, the like cell phone in the fire and subtle. It's subtle. It's cool. I like seeing it. Now, just having come off of Rambo: Last Blood and watching what he does at the end of that movie, it's just like, man, I want to see a movie like this, but like where Rambo's at the end. It's just like, oh, you came to the wrong house, motherfucker. Like, that's the only difference between a horror movie and an action movie, is the dude's prepared and these guys aren't. Like, these fucking guys at the end of Rambo would be a horror movie if it was just some, random family that was at the house. It'd just be like, oh my God, what is happening? But with Rambo, then it turns into an action movie because he can defend himself. Now, how could someone come up to your car out in the middle of nowhere where there's no sound, there's long stretches of like land in each direction with trees far away? How could they come up and touch your neck, run away on the gravel, on the the little rocks everywhere, get so far away, so quick that when he just in the time, like just touch your neck and just respond, and in that amount of time, he not only doesn't hear anyone running away, but he doesn't see anyone either. And then he sees like Babyface, or I think they're Babyface, Dollface, and Masked Man or some shit. But yeah, he sees her like 50 feet down the road. And it's like, was it her? It looked like female fingers, so it was either her or Dollface. But where did she go? Behind the car, and he didn't hear? He didn't hear her? Like, at all? Bullshit. Like, that scene really annoyed me. I was like, bull fucking shit. Is this a ghost movie all of a sudden? There's no way you could touch someone's neck that quietly, in that quiet of an area, and get out of there without them hearing you in the literal, like, millisecond it would take for you to turn your neck. I know it's a nitpicky thing, but ridiculous. So then there's a gun in there, which, I mean, it's a vacation rental. It comes with a gun and a bunch of shotgun shells. Okay. And then Dennis from freaking Always Sunny in Philadelphia pulls up to get shot in the face. Oh shit! I shot Dennis in the face. And they were actually going, the killers in this were going to kill the friend. They were right behind him with an axe, or, well, the mass killer was with a friend, and they just did it for him. He should have been like, thanks. I like that he writes killer on the window, yet, and kind of going with the whole fact that they love to antagonize the shit out of people. It would have been really funny with all the record playing and stuff in here, if he would have thrown on Filter's Nice Shot Man. Right when he shot, like right after he shot his friend. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I mean, this is a guy who just said not a minute ago he doesn't even know if he can load the bullets into this gun, and in a split second, hey, that was a pretty good one. A split second reaction, he blows his friend's head off. That's some pretty good aim for a first timer. So this guy is a natural, man. He's like Django. He's a total natural. And then. Yeah, I already said that. I put down, we don't get to know the characters at all. Do you think I've talked about that enough? I think we're past that. And then, yeah, she's wearing the wedding ring. She says, I love you in that moment, and it's not good enough. And then just be tied to a chair and slowly, like, stabbed right in front of, a person who just disappointed you so much. One way or the other, I guess either one of them, like him asking too early or her turning him down, but like the tension between them and like the disappointment, the anger, all that stuff that they felt in that moment, and now they just give anything to spend another minute together, and it's just sad. It's sad to watch. It's sad. It's horrible to think about being tied to a chair with the woman you love. Even if she turns you down, you still love her. She does love him. She's just not ready for that. I don't blame her. And then boom, just stabs him in the stomach, and then they just take turns with the knife, and then he gets stabbed like right in the heart. I feel like the second stab for him is absolute. There's no way he could have survived that. When she wakes up, I think all we see is her stabbed in the stomach. So we know how long someone who has been hit in the stomach can last, right? Reservoir Dogs. Holy shit, she could bleed like a pool of blood, literally, and she'll be all right. Unless one of them shoots him in the head. And then, yeah, I like that they pull over and they grab a pamphlet from those kids. Are you a sinner? Sometimes. I really like the subtlety of the killers. I like that they want to take off the masks. That's another part I thought was really cool. That, like, in most of these movies, the mask always stays on, right? Michael keeps his mask on. Jason keeps his mask on. Unless he's trying to show a girl that maybe he raped. That whole Friday the 13th Part 3 Chris thing is so fucking weird. Did he rape her? Is that what happened? Like, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. But he shows, like, he pulls up the mask and she's like, You! It can't be! Why can't it be? But, yeah, does she say I can't be? Maybe she doesn't. Maybe I ad-libbed that part. I don't know. But, yeah, anyway. But I love that they take their masks off. It's like, we want you to see our identities. We want you to see who's killing you. You look at my face when you're killing me. Oh, Saw 6, I love you so much. But yeah, like, I love that it just adds to their... it adds to just how cruel and evil they are and how much they get off on this. I don't know if this was like all prepared and planned, or if it was just because the ants are like the best thing. And like my favorite line in this movie, of course, I think this is most people's, is, why are you doing this to us? Because you were home. And then the masked guy even kind of looks over at her like, good line. All right. Like, do you think of that already? Or that was just on the spot? Like, that came... But yeah, just the sadistic nature of that. Like, we want you to see our identities. Like, a lot of killers in movies, like, they hide their identity. It's like it's almost as if it's an escapism. It's like, you're not doing it, it's something else, somebody else. But these guys, like, no, we want you to know who's doing this to you. We want you to know what's going on here. And they just, like, ditch the masks and then stab them as they, like, look into their eyes. We don't get to see their faces, but you can tell they're looking right at them as they do it. So just adds to the sadist in them. So I thought that was really cool. And I like that in the sequel that they had that, kind of additional line where it's like, why are you doing this to us? And it's like, why not? So Babyface she's on the ball. She's got the answers that just make you go, oh, really? Just because I was home, that was it? There was no other reason? That's terrifying, right? It's just terrifying to think about, like, because you were home. That's it. There's no reason. There's no, like, there's nothing for you to go, oh, I deserve this, or, oh, like, to think about it at all. It's just kind of like, that's it? Because we came home? Like, if we wouldn't have asked her to marry him. Think about that, though. That's what's fucked up. If he wouldn't have asked her to marry him, they would have still been at that party. Now, yeah, the wedding reception, it's 4 a.m. by that point, though. I mean, how much longer were they going to stay? She was like, let's get back inside. I want to dance or something. It's like, at 4 a.m.? Jesus Christ, who's getting married at this party? Or at this wedding, at this reception? 4 a.m. and you guys are still like, oh, it's time to keep drinking. These are some partiers, man. Sounds like my kind of people. But yeah, would they even be allowed to serve alcohol past 2? I don't know. I don't know how that works once you've paid for it in advance. Like, you're not buying liquor past 2 at that point. I don't know how that works. Anyways, all right, guys. Yeah, so those are my feelings. Also that there's more killers than there are protagonists. How often does that happen? Almost never. I'm just looking through my notes, seeing if I missed anything. I kind of glazed over them, but yeah, there you go. Whatever. Anyways, all right. Well, thank you to Amanda and everybody else who's recommended this and wanted this. There you go. It's not really a slasher movie, but it'll do. All right, guys. See you next week. Adios.